Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving deep into a challenge that I think plagues so many people navigating English. It's that sheer frustration, having a word just vanish from your mind the exact moment you need it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to speak.
Oh, yeah. You know the word is in there somewhere, but it evaporates.
Exactly, it's gone.
It's that moment of panic, isn't it? That feeling of your brain just like freezing up. And we have a really remarkable source document guiding us today. It's a deeply personal narrative that walks us through one individual's journey grappling with this very common, very unsettling experience.
Yeah, and our mission right now is to pull the most valuable insights from this source. We want to understand why this forgetting happens.
Yeah.
And realizing, it's actually a completely normal part of truly learning a language.
Mm-hmm. It's not a sign you're failing.
Right. And then uncover a powerful, maybe unexpected approach to reconnecting with English that moves beyond, the usual drills and lists.
Yeah. Get ready for maybe an aha moment here. Something that could fundamentally change how you think about your relationship with English words, especially when you're trying to find them under pressure.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Our story introduces us to Anna. She's 24, described as quiet, curious, full of dreams, and, on paper, she's done everything right. 6 years studying English. She's even passed a B2 exam.
Which is solid, right? Intermediate advanced level.
Totally. She understands the grammar rules. She's learned piles of vocabulary. By all conventional measures, you'd expect her to be feeling pretty confident.
Absolutely. She has the knowledge base. She's clearly put in the work. But despite all that, she starts facing this really tough problem the source calls the strange silence.
A strange silence.
Yeah, it's like a black hole opening up in her mind when she tries to access specific words she knows.
And it's not just minor slips either, is it? The narrative really emphasizes this is happening frequently, like every single day.
Mm-hmm. Words she knows. Trying to say desire, maybe, but it's just gone.
Or wanting to talk about change on the bus, but the word isn't there.
Or feeling utterly exhausted, but only managing to say tired. It's limiting.
And the emotional fallout the source describes is, it's visceral. That wave of panic, the heat rising in her cheeks.
Feeling embarrassed, even questioning her intelligence or her memory. Is something wrong with me?
Right. She starts to wonder if she's actually losing her grasp on English entirely.
It's intensely relatable, isn't it? You can picture her maybe sitting there with untouched cold tea, flipping through old notebooks filled with words that now feel like strangers.
Yeah, that feeling of chasing shadows, knowing the words are there, but just being unable to grasp them. Have you felt that specific kind of frustrating disconnect?
I think most language learners have at some point. It's a vulnerability that really strikes at the heart of communication. When you can't access the words you need, it feels like a fundamental part of you is failing somehow.
But the source shows Anna reaching a crucial turning point. She decides she just can't live with this silence anymore. She vows to fix this.
And where did her journey begin? With a seemingly simple yet profound message from a stranger.
Which is?
You don't forget words, you forget how to feel them.
You forget how to feel them. Now, that's a pretty provocative idea. What does that immediately tell us, according to this source, about the nature of this forgetting?
Well, it immediately suggests that the problem isn't just a simple storage error like a computer file you can't locate. It reframes it as an access issue. And it's tied to something deeper than just intellectual recall.
So not just data retrieval.
Exactly. The message implies that words have this emotional or sensory dimension, and losing connection to that is the real problem.
Which leads Anna to this fascinating meeting described in the source with a woman named Eve referred to as a memory mentor.
Right. And imagine the scene, a quiet library garden, the sound of a fountain, this feeling of peace, and Eve herself with silver hair and this warm, knowing presence.
Sounds calming already.
Yeah. And Eve validates everything Anna has been feeling. She confirms, look, this isn't unique to you. Many learners with strong technical knowledge struggle to actually speak.
Right.
And she reiterates that core message. Forgetting words isn't primarily a failure of memory. What she says is it's often a symptom of, well, fear, pressure, and self-judgment getting in the way.
Ah, the psychological side.
Exactly. And this is where the source introduces a truly radical idea, contrasting it with traditional learning.
Which is?
Words aren't just data points or definitions on a flashcard. Eve tells Anna they are feelings, and you connect with them and remember them best, not through anxiety and testing.
But we usually do.
Right. But through joy, playfulness, and personal connection, kind of like how a child learns their first language.
Yeah.
Naturally.
That's a fundamental paradigm shift, isn't it? It says English shouldn't be an adversary or a test you have to pass.
But a companion, a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does Eve propose building this friendship? Her method sounds unconventional.
It is. She gives Anna a simple, soft brown notebook, and the instruction is just one word a day.
One word a day. That sounds manageable.
But critically, it's not just writing the word down and memorizing a definition. This is the core of the source's method.
Okay, so what else?
Anna is instructed to write the word and draw it, feel it, tell a personal story about it, use color, sound, maybe even sing it. Really engage multiple senses.
Wow. Okay. And Anna's initial reaction, according to the source.
That sounds weird, which is probably what a lot of us would think.
Totally.
And Eve's response is perfect. Yes! And that's why it works.
Because it's different. It engages different parts of the brain.
Exactly. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, emotional. It weaves the word into Anna's personal experience and sensations. It makes the word mean something personal to her, not just exist as a definition on a page.
The source gives some lovely examples of this in action, doesn't it? Her very first word is hope.
Yeah. She writes it, draws a fragile candle in the dark, writes a sentence about carrying a small light when everything feels lost. Then she reads the word aloud, slowly, with her hand on her heart, kind of feeling the physical sensation of the word.
And the text describes her feeling the word become warm. It's not abstract anymore. It has a physical and emotional resonance.
Right. The next day, she does courage. Draws a lion, lists brave things she's actually done, says the word to her own reflection in the mirror.
Connecting the word to her actions, her history, her sense of self. That makes sense.
And the immediate impact, according to the source, is striking. The very next time she spoke in English, the word hope didn't have to be searched for.
It just came.
It popped into her head naturally, like a friend waving hello. That moment signals the shift the source highlights, from fear and freezing to a sense of natural flow.
So it's not a perfect recall under pressure.
No, it's about effortless access rooted in connection. This is the core understanding emerging for Anna, and for us reading this. Truly knowing a word isn't just about memory storage.
It's about reconnecting with it, feeling it, owning it, making it part of you.
Exactly. Her notebook becomes much more than a vocabulary list. It's a map of her emotional journey with the English language.
And as this notebook fills up, the source mentions grateful, drawn with grandmother's hands, brave with a mountain, joy with a sketch of her cat. The words start to feel like they genuinely belong to her. They're hers now.
But then naturally, the narrative presents a new, significant challenge.
Which is?
An invitation arrives to speak at an English storytelling night.
Oh, wow. Okay, for someone whose core struggle has been words disappearing under pressure, this is like the ultimate test.
Totally. The source captures her immediate visceral fear. I'd forget every word on stage. Panic sets in.
You can feel it. The source describes her typing a frantic acceptance, then deleting it, settling for a vague maybe. The fear's incredibly real.
So naturally, she turns back to Eve for guidance on this specific performance anxiety. How do I handle this?
And Eve's perspective, as shared in the source, is critical here. She doesn't just dismiss the fear, does she?
No, not at all. She validates it, saying, fear is okay, it means you care. More importantly, she reframes mistakes. She says they will happen.
Which is realistic.
Right, and they are not failures, but beginnings, opportunities. This insight directly addresses the judgment Anna fears so much.
But the most crucial advice Eve offers for the actual speaking moment, according to the source. What's the key?
Don't try to remember a perfect script. Don't aim for flawless delivery. Speak from feeling, from truth, from the heart. This reinforces the foundation Anna's been building with her notebook.
It gives her permission to be authentic, to be human, maybe even imperfect up there.
Exactly. So her preparation for the event focuses on the word voice.
Ah, fitting.
Yeah. She draws a girl on a stage, hand on her chest, and writes, "My voice is not perfect, but it's mine and it matters." This becomes her anchor, her kind of mission statement for that night.
Okay, fast forward to the storytelling night. The source describes the setting: small cafe, warm lights, friendly faces in the audience. Seems welcoming.
It does, but despite the welcoming setting, the physical symptoms of her fear are undeniable. Sweaty palms, a pounding heart. The body remembers the fear.
She is the last speaker. She walks to the front, stands at the microphone, looks out at the expectant faces, opens her mouth, and
silence. The silence returns. The source recounts the intense internal panic that floods her. It's the black hole happening live in front of everyone.
Oh no. This is the moment where everything Anna has learned is really put to the test. How does she navigate this crushing silence, according to the narrative? What does she do?
She closes her eyes, puts her hand on her chest, and she doesn't try to frantically grab a specific word from her mental dictionary.
Smart.
Instead, she remembers the feeling of the very first word she worked on: hope.
Back to the feeling.
That emotional connection is her lifeline. She opens her eyes and starts speaking, not from a memorized text, but from that core feeling.
And she starts slowly?
Yeah, slowly, vulnerably, sharing her past struggle with forgetting words, with feeling stupid or broken. And then she introduces this concept of feeling words.
And the powerful transformation described in the source happens when she speaks her truth, right? That line.
I wasn't broken. I was just afraid. I was trying to speak English like a machine, not like a human.
Wow. That must have resonated.
Totally. The room shifts. They listen intently. The audience connects with her honesty and vulnerability. They smile when she talks about words returning like a bird. She didn't hide her struggle. She made it the heart of her story.
And her concluding sentence really encapsulates the entire journey.
English is not a test I must pass. It's a path I choose to walk, one word at a time.
Powerful. And the result?
Thunderous applause. Her heart pounds, but this time the source clarifies. It's from joy, not fear. A huge shift.
And she adds proud to her notebook that night, drawing a star next to it. The experience validates this whole new approach for her.
Absolutely. A major personal breakthrough.
So, Anna's had this breakthrough. The source then shows her continuing this practice over the next 2 months. English feels less like a barrier now, more like a door she opened.
Right. But her journey doesn't just end with her own progress, does it? A new question starts to form inside her.
Would you?
She looks around her. She thinks of classmates who were hesitant to speak, of her coworker Ravi who always avoided English phone calls.
She sees herself in them.
Exactly. She starts to see their struggles not necessarily as a lack of knowledge, but as the same root problem she faced: fear. And this realization sparks a desire to, well, share what she discovered.
Okay, so what did you do?
This leads to a pretty bold step.
Mhm.
She emails the local library, proposing to teach a different kind of English class, one focused on this emotional connection, not just rote learning.
And the library.
Surprisingly, they say yes, which is great, but this unexpected positive response immediately triggers a new wave of self-doubt for Anna.
Imposter syndrome kicks in.
Totally. She calls Eve again, admitting she feels unqualified, saying, "I'm not a teacher, I'm still learning myself."
And Eve's reassurance is simple and profound, isn't it? Echoing that theme of continuous growth from earlier.
Yeah, the best teachers are always learning. And simply, trust me, they'll come. Just have faith.
So the source sets the scene for that first class. A small library meeting room, simple, functional. Her notebook, her colorful markers are ready.
But her nervousness is palpable. The description mentions her hands shaking slightly. It's a big step.
The students arrive, each carrying their own story of language struggle. We meet Noor, a shy teenager, Carlos, a middle-aged man clutching a heavy dictionary.
The classic symbol.
Right. And May, a mother juggling responsibilities. 7 people in total, all hoping for something different, maybe.
And Anna takes the breath and sets the tone for this unique space. What does she say?
She says, in this room, we don't memorize words. We feel them, we draw them, we sing them, we live them.
Wow. Bold opening. How do they react?
The source describes a mix of smiles, confusion on their faces, but the key point is no one leaves. They're intrigued. They're willing to try this unconventional approach.
That's huge. So what happens in that first class?
That first night, they choose the word home. And the source highlights the powerful personal connections they make. Noor draws a cloud with a sun behind it, representing the feeling of safety she missed.
Carlos draws a guitar, connecting home to music for him. May draws a bowl of soup, that sensory memory of comfort.
And Anna draws her notebook, which has become the new home for her words.
Ah, nice full circle there.
Yeah. And this shared vulnerability and creativity immediately changes the dynamic in the room. The source notes them using words imperfectly, maybe grammatically awkward.
But crucially, without fear.
Exactly. Laughter starts to fill the room. They eagerly bring their notebooks to subsequent classes, becoming deeply invested not just in English, but in finding their words, their connection.
And Noor's quote shared in the source perfectly encapsulates the shift Anna witnessed and facilitated.
What does Noor say?
She says, "I used to think I was bad at English. Now I think I was just afraid."
Wow. Mirroring Anna's own realization, this isn't just Anna's story anymore, it's becoming theirs too.
Yeah. And that night, reflecting on this ripple effect, Anna chooses the word ripple for her notebook. She draws a stone dropping into water, symbolizing how one small act of courage can create these ever-widening circles of change.
It's a beautiful image. But the source narrative makes it clear that growth isn't just a straight line upwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are still bumps.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not linear. It describes Anna, a few months later, leading a larger class, now 12 students. She's feeling confident. She chooses the word dream for the night. Seems fine.
And
then, without warning, it happens again. The sudden, debilitating freezing, dry mouth, thoughts tangling, notes blurring, hands trembling.
oh no, not again.
Yeah. The silence in the room feels heavy as everyone watches her. The internal panic returns with a vengeance. What's happening? Why now?
She feels like she's back at square one.
Exactly. Like the old Anna. Overwhelmed, she ends the session early, avoids eye contact, goes home, and cries, completely convinced she has failed. Failed her students, failed herself.
This setback is so crucial to the narrative, isn't it? It shows the reality.
It really does. The source shows her retreating, unable to even touch her notebook for days, ready to give up the classes entirely.
But the turning point, much like her initial journey, comes through connection, doesn't it?
Yes. An envelope appears under her door. It's from Noor, the shy teenager.
What's inside?
A simple drawing of a sun behind a mountain and a note that directly mirrors Anna's struggle and the possibility of return. Even the sun hides sometimes, but it always returns. Please come back.
Oh, that's powerful. From one of her students.
So powerful. This act of understanding and support helps Anna pick up her pencil again. She writes the word fail.
But she doesn't stop there.
No. Then she circles it and writes something else beneath it. A step, not the end. She draws a foot stepping onto a path. She's actively redefining what failure means in this context for herself.
Learning from the setback. So she calls Eve again.
She does, raw with disappointment, admitting, I forgot everything. But Eve offers that deeper wisdom drawn from experience. Eve says, no, you didn't.
How does she explain that?
She argues that Anna remembered fear, and facing it, even by freezing, makes her even better, even more human. It adds depth to her teaching.
And Eve prepares her for the reality of the journey, right?
It might happen again.
Yes. It will happen again, and you'll walk through it again. You know the way now. It's not a promise of perfection, but a promise of resilience, of knowing how to navigate those difficult moments. The source notes Anna's quiet smile of understanding. She gets it.
So she returns to class. How does that go?
She arrives early, and the first thing she does is write silence on the board. She doesn't hide what happened.
Facing it head on.
Absolutely. She shares her vulnerability with the group, admitting, 3 days ago, I forgot how to speak. I felt like I had failed.
And then she leads them in reframing that experience.
Exactly. Silence isn't failure. It's part of the process. It can be a necessary space, stillness, a moment before the words return, giving it value.
How does the group respond? They engage with silence, drawing their own powerful interpretations. Carlos draws a beach at night, Megve a baby sleeping, Noor draws a girl with eyes closed in peaceful contemplation.
Say Anna.
Anna draws her own face with her hand on her heart, connecting back to that moment on stage, that coping mechanism.
So this shared exploration helps the group understand that forgetting isn't the enemy, that silence can hold meaning, and that their journey is one of continuous growth, even through the tough parts.
Precisely. And Anna chooses resilience for her notebook that night, drawing a tree bending in the wind but not breaking, writing, even when I forget, I still remember who I am. That's the core.
Okay, the narrative then takes us to a really major milestone for Anna. A formal invitation arrives in the mail.
Yes, to speak at the annual language learning conference. And the source highlights the compliment embedded in the invitation. Your journey has inspired many.
Wow. Big leagues. What's Anna's initial reaction?
Disbelief and laughter. Her. Speak at a conference, in front of experts. All the past moments of freezing, panicking, and forgetting just flood back immediately.
Understandable fear.
But beneath that wave of fear, the source describes a deeper memory emerging. Remembering how she came back from the last freeze, the students who stayed, Noor's note under the door. The evidence of her resilience, not just her vulnerability.
Right, the proof she can get through it.
So she calls Eve again, admitting the raw fear. What if I freeze again on that huge stage?
And Eve's advice is simple, profound, and connects directly back to that last experience, doesn't it?
It does. Then speak from the silence. That's where your truth lives. Use the silence. Don't just fear it.
Okay, so Anna accepts the invitation. The source details weeks of intense nerves writing, rewriting, practicing, inevitably forgetting lines, feeling moments of panic.
But fundamentally not giving up this time. She knows the way through the silence now, or at least knows she can find a way.
The day of the conference arrives. A full auditorium of faces. People from all over gather to hear her story. Anna is backstage, heart pounding. The physical symptoms of fear are definitely back.
She steps into the bright lights, walks to the podium, looks out at the sea of faces, and opens her mouth.
Aunt, don't tell me.
It happens again. Nothing comes out. Notes blur. Breathing quickens. Handshake. The silence, familiar yet terrifying on this scale, is back.
Oh, Anna. But this time, she knows what to do.
This time she knows. She connects just as she did on the small cafe stage. Closing her eyes, placing her hand on her chest, she remembers the feeling of hope. That first word, that first connection, her anchor.
And she opens her eyes and begins. Her opening lines, as shared in the source, are incredibly vulnerable and powerful, aren't they?
So powerful. She doesn't identify herself as an expert or a perfect speaker, but as a forgetter, a drawer, a dreamer. She states her past belief that forgetting words meant she was failing and contrasts it with her hard-won understanding. Now I know it means I'm growing.
Owning the whole journey.
Exactly. She shares her entire story. The cafe, the notebooks, the class, the setback, the return. She uses visuals, showing drawings from her students, Noor's clouds, Carlos's guitar, May's soup, making their journeys part of her narrative.
And she holds up her own notebook.
Right, not as proof of perfect vocabulary, but as a symbol of her fears, her silence, and her rediscovery, her whole journey in that book.
And then comes the moment that the source highlights as truly powerful, the one that connected her with the entire audience. She asked them a simple question.
How many of you have forgotten a word in English?
And the source describes every single hand in the auditorium going up. Every single person.
Imagine that visual. And her response is simple perfection. Then we're all learning. And we're all brave. It just completely shifts the dynamic from expert on stage to shared human experience. We're all in this.
The impact must have been immense.
Totally. People rush up to her afterwards not to ask about grammar rules, but to tell her her story is their story. She gave them courage. She made them feel less alone.
That's incredible. And that night, back in her hotel room?
She writes voice again in her notebook. This time she draws a microphone, turning into a bird flying from her heart, writing, "Even when I forget the words, I still have something to say." She found her voice, even through the forgetting.
So the source brings Anna's personal narrative full circle by taking us back to that quiet library room, the place where her teaching journey began, where she froze, learned, and grew.
Yeah, it's her last day there before starting a new, much larger role, leading a citywide program helping immigrants and refugees find their voices in English using this method.
Wow. So before she leaves, she performs a final symbolic act in that room.
She does. She opens her notebook to the last page, writes the word begin, and draws her feet standing on a path with sketches from her journey behind her and a sunrise ahead, looking forward.
And then she writes a letter to the person who will take over her classes.
Yes, and the letter excerpted in the source is just a beautiful distillation of everything she learned. It acknowledges the next teacher's potential feelings. They might be afraid, uncertain, but also hopeful and excited.
It shares the core message of the approach, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to listen. And crucially, let others find their words even if they forget them sometimes, especially if they forget them. Embrace the forgetting.
And it emphasizes the most important insight.
Forgetting is a sign of trying, and trying is the bravest thing. She tells them magic happens in this room, thanking them for continuing this story. It's a handover of not just a class, but a whole philosophy.
She leaves the notebook on the shelf like a tangible legacy, whispering a quiet thank you to the room.
And as she walks out, Noor, Carlos, May, and others from her classes are waiting outside her first students, now her community, her friends.
That's lust.
And Noor gives her a hand-drawn journal, calling it Your New Beginning.
Anna's final words to them, shared in the source, are simple but profound. You were my teachers, too, acknowledging that this journey of growth and connection was mutual.
She steps into the sunlight, feeling the weight of everything she'd been through, the doubt, the fear, the courage, and she has this powerful realization. It wasn't just about remembering English.
What was it about?
She has remembered herself, found herself through this process.
The transformation is complete. From a quiet girl whispering in a cafe, terrified of losing words, to a woman speaking with confidence and vulnerability to hundreds.
Yeah. The source leaves her ready for her next chapter, knowing it will contain both silence and sound, forgetting and remembering, but now, always, hope.
The source adds some bonus scenes, too, which I think are great. They really illustrate the lasting impact of Anna's journey, showing how her personal transformation created this ripple effect far beyond that single library room.
Yeah, they're important. We see Noor, who is the shy teenager, now teaching herself, holding up that paper sun she drew in that first class.
Teaching the word light.
Right. And telling a student who's struggling with forgetting words that if they forget the word, we will remember the feeling. It's a direct lineage of Eve's wisdom, passed down through Anna, now to the next generation.
That's beautiful. And Anna's Voices Remembered program.
Yeah, the archive at the community center, a physical space filled with her students' words and drawings. Home, begin, soup, daughter, tree, all these personally meaningful words.
She stands there reading them, hearing the silent choir of all the voices she helped find their place.
And her perspective to a journalist is telling me the hardest part is letting go of the idea of perfect English. The best part is watching people remember who they are in any language. It's about identity.
And finally, there's a letter from someone identified only as M, right?
Yes, a former student whose voice was always quiet. M remembers Anna saying, "You don't have to be loud to be heard." And now M teaches music, helping children connect through rhythm and kindness, helping them remember me, their own sense of self.
Adding this letter to the archives signifies how Anna's approach fostered not just language learning, but self-discovery and connection, creating ripples in really unexpected places.
Yeah, these bonus scenes just underline the core message. Finding your voice in a new language isn't just about vocabulary mastery. It's this profound journey of self-acceptance and connection, a journey that can empower others to do the same.
So bringing this deep dive back to you, our listener, maybe today you felt that familiar frustration. Maybe you forgot a word, felt your mind go blank, felt unsure, or just tired of the struggle sometimes.
We've all been there.
Based on Anna's journey and this powerful source, the most important takeaway we want to leave you with is this. That's okay. Seriously, forgetting a word doesn't mean you're failing.
It really doesn't. It means you are learning. Your brain is actively working, stretching, trying to make connections, growing. You are not behind. You're not slow. You are simply human on a complex, sometimes messy path of communication.
And remember, every single person you admire for their fluency once forgot words. Constantly, probably. Even Anna, especially Anna in this story, her journey teaches us that the struggle is actually part of the strength.
So if your voice shakes when you speak, use it anyway. If words vanish, just pause. Take a breath. Maybe even offer a small, vulnerable smile, remembering Anna on that stage. The words will often return. You are truly not alone in this experience. Remember Anna, remember Noor, remember Carlos and May.
Courage isn't never forgetting, it's speaking again, even when you're afraid you might forget. Your words matter. Your story, told however imperfectly, matters. You are becoming stronger with every attempt, every stumble, every pause.
So keep going, keep dreaming, keep beginning again, one word, one feeling, one shaky sentence at a time. It all adds up.
And one day, when someone else feels that frustrating silence, perhaps you will be the person who helps them remember that they are not broken, just human, and that their voice is brave just for trying.
And as a final thought to maybe ponder, what does it truly mean for you to feel a word? Is there one word you could choose today, just one to write down, maybe draw, connect with emotionally?
What story does that single word hold, not just in your head, but maybe in your heart? Something to sit with as you continue your own incredible journey with English.